Okay, so Chad, you've been a friend of the channel for a long time. People know about you in like this mysterious way, but you put out this tweet today that is making you less mysterious. And this tweet, not only is it doing well in the Twitter algorithm, but it's an incredible tweet, and it's about your kind of sales call with a company that's worth $100 billion that's thinking of Palantir. So before I get into this tweet itself, who are you? What do you do at Palantir? And I guess in general, why do you like working at Palantir?
So Chad Walquist, yeah, architect is my official title, but I do whatever needs to get done. And so, like, I think the biggest reason I came to Palantir was, I was a prior customer. I brought Palantir into Tyson Foods. I led all the Tyson Foods organization there around IT, analytics, that kind of stuff. And I saw the power firsthand of the value that I could add with the tooling. And the tooling was focused on outcomes, not IT focused of, hey, I can build a data lake. Well, what am I going to do with that? How do I add value? And so that was the original thesis I had. And then when kind of the Gen AI boom happened, I was actually working at Amazon on some generative AI components. And when I saw kind of how things were transforming, how my work was going, it became obvious to me that I needed Ontology to actually really make this stuff work in a meaningful way in the enterprise space. And so that thesis became AIP. And that's why I joined Palantir, was to work on that, is how do we bring Gen AI functionality into the enterprise?
So this is really exciting. I've gotten to know you, and I credit as you're one of the reasons Arnie and I actually understand an Ontology in depth, because you sat with us for 3 hours and kind of like forced us to understand what Palantir is actually offering here. And obviously that Ontology is a differentiating moat for Palantir that we all believe is probably one of the reasons clients get excited about them. So in this tweet that we read about 30 minutes ago, I'm going to go through it again. You had an introductory call, basically a sales call with a $100 billion business. And their question was, how are you different from the Snowflakes, the Databricks of the world? So I guess can you answer that question for all of us that are probably wondering, why is Palantir different from some of those bigger companies? And in the context of selling Palantir to some of these clients, what are the things they're looking for to be answered to go with Palantir over a competitor?
Yeah. Well, this is the reason I put this tweet out this morning. This is a theme I see. It happened yesterday at a big potential customer, but this is a theme I hear across many IT practitioners. And I was an IT practitioner for 20 years, running a $50 billion organization, or $50 billion company's IT organization, and so, like, I know the pain firsthand at what it looks like. I went through the transformation from legacy systems to Hadoop to cloud-based. I've gone through that in my entire career. And so I see their pain. I actually didn't even have the time to really dive into the Ontology in that call yesterday. I only had 30 minutes. And so I actually didn't even bring up the differentiator of the Ontology to these people. I called it out. I kind of gave a high level what it was, but really the real focus I started to pick up on when I was reading the room was, they have the cloud, they have all these supposed best in class tools from these cloud provider tools, but they can't get value out of them.
Right.
They're spending all their time, and that's where I started to kind of hone in on things. Is you have to actually be focused not on the tools but the value, and the tools should be friction to help you go add that value. And so
why aren't they getting value? Did they say why they can't make this operational for them?
Well, they just said, man, we're trying POCs everywhere. We're doing all the latest co-pilots and tools, and they named off 10 different AI companies and tools, and none of them work out. And they came back and said, like, and they said to me, this is kind of where I honed in on, was, hey, like, actually, we're trying these chatbots, but it's really just a natural language filter on a report I already have. It doesn't help me. It's not transformational. Like, yeah, it's kind of nice. It's a natural way to do it, but it doesn't add value. And so, like, those were the kind of keywords I started to hear, is like, they tried the co-pilots, they tried all these things that are not actually getting value out of them. And so, all right, that's where I hone in on, like, well, why? And they're like, okay, the co-pilot example here, but also the services. When you go to a cloud, everyone thinks you have all these services in one cloud and they all just work together. In reality, no. I mean, I worked at Amazon. I can tell you that the teams do not work together to make sure that product A talks to product B natively. And so that's a huge frustration for them, that not just in the AI space alone with the co-pilots, but then just in cloud in general, kind of more in the foundry space, they couldn't get anything done.
So, okay, so this is incredibly interesting. So when they are asking for the answer, when they agree with you on the problem in the first 15 minutes of the call,
Yeah.
that they're fragmented, they can't get things done, they're using these chatbots, it doesn't mean anything. But then they've heard a quote from Sham or Karp that says, go beyond chat. What does that mean? What does it actually mean to go beyond chat? And how do you sell that as a vision to them?
So like I said, chat is really focused on like, how do I query my data? And so I'm just having a natural language thing that's going to essentially write a SQL query. And that's actually what I see a lot of these tools do is I have a data warehouse that you can access through SQL. The chatbot essentially interprets the intent and writes a SQL statement against the data warehouse, returns an answer, and puts it to the field. That's a report. And so when we say move beyond chat, it's how do I actually operationalize things? How do I use AI to automate workflows, to access unstructured data that I couldn't access before? Maybe it's sitting on a SharePoint site, it's in images somewhere. We see a lot of that. And so Gen AI can help us do that natively. So for example, in the procurement use case, like that video I did, there's nowhere that I'm like chatting with the data. Gen AI is extracting information from RFPs. It's reasoning across them. It's looking for those across invoices and matching those up. That reasoning function is what we're focused on. Gen AI brings reasoning to things that normally had deterministic logic and human. Now the machine reasoning is what we focus on with LLMs.
And that reasoning can't actually derive value in the context of the large language models unless it's connected to an ontology, correct?
Yeah, the ontology is the digital representation of your business and your business process, how it actually operates. And so the focus there is if I have a digital twin of how my business operates, great. The LLM has no knowledge of your business. It has no knowledge of kind of what I call the dark matter, the things that are on whiteboards and spreadsheets and hallway conversations. So the ontology gives you that backbone to be able to capture those things and then do that in human language, human knowledge that was trained for these, used to train these LLMs. And so basically the idea here is the ontology is the representation of your business. The LLM is the machine reasoning. It can use tools to navigate across the ontology, navigate across the digital twin of your business, and then find answers and ground that in the truth and reference back, where did I get this answer? How did I use these tools to get it? And then also take action. So it's not just the data piece. We say data, logic, and action. So it's cool. Now I found an answer. What do I do about it? What's the optimal 3 responses I should do? And then pick the most optimal one and actually take action. All of that is facilitated through the ontology. Without that, you just have a bunch of data piles that the LM tries to reason across and has no clue how they're structured or what it means or how your business actually operates or the stuff that's in the hallway conversation.
So my next question to that, and I think this is going to be a question that everyone wants an answer to, because I feel like everyone's been trying to figure out the answer, but we don't explicitly know. So I think someone like you could really tell us what the answer is. Why can't Snowflake do what you just said?
So Snowflake, they've got their own LLM as well. They've trained it on business data, but it's not your business data. It doesn't have the logic about how you operate or anything like that. The ontology is something we've built over 20 years of hardened experience to make it scale, perform securely. Like all these things have been, tested, battle tested with Gotham through Foundry and all of the big work we did at BP and at Tyson and all these other places. That system is like very unique. I don't see anyone else in the marketplace. Snowflake is their data models are focused on a data model, a dimensional data warehouse, a star schema. These things are just models that try to represent a little bit more business friendly or user friendly way of the system speak. And so the thing is everyone's focused on the wrong problem. They're focused on how do I sell my widget? I'm going to create a semantic model that a BI tool can sit on and it's going to tell you an answer of some metric. Like that's what they're focused on. No one is even focused on what we're doing.
Right.
Like, that's the problem I see with all these other players.
Right. No, I think that's so true. And I think that's a very important thing to think about. That's what you said in your tweet, that Palantir can do a lot of these things that some of the Snowflake's data dogs can do in terms of being a data lakehouse, but taking it a step further and actually operationalizing all that data to make it create value, which is what you keep talking about for the business.
And that's what I put in the tweet was because yes, you need all the data in one place. That's great. That's the first step. But when you talk to a business executive, like you go talk to a CEO of one of these companies, And they're like, I just went through this cloud transformation. I spent 3 or 4 years, tens of millions of dollars. I have all my data sitting in a data lake now. Like, but my business hasn't changed.
Right.
And like my two reports are now one. They run in the cloud and they cost me 2 or 3 times as much. Like, how is that transformational? That's what they see out of the value of those things, because people stop at putting stuff in a data lake.
And these people are upset at this stuff, right? I'm assuming they're annoyed.
Yeah, they're annoyed. Yeah, I mean, that if you just spent tens of millions of dollars in 2 or 3 years of all these promises about how getting all your data in a data lake is going to solve the world's problems, like, that's one step, but that's not the end goal. And that's where a lot of IT practitioners fall short, because the IT practitioners are focused on getting data in one place. That will solve all my reporting problems. Like, that's where they're focused. The business is like, yeah, that's not transformational.
Right. Now, when you say in the suite, I know it sounds like black magic, but our connected tool chain as a single secure model, is that basically what you're talking about, is the ontology at the end of the day?
No. So like I said, I wasn't actually honed in on ontology here, because I only had 30 minutes. I mean, to do this whole bit that I did here, I had maybe 10 minutes. So my focus here was actually the friction between tools. So you go to the cloud and you stand up, whatever cloud tool you want, Redshift, BigQuery, all these things. It's great. Now, okay, I want to create a workflow and an application on top of it. Well, how do you secure that? How do you do that, with security governance across those things? How do I run a simulation on top of those things? Each one of those is a new product on these clouds, and none of them work together. And that's where the false dichotomy has been sold. All these cloud providers say, we are going to take away the non-differentiated heavy lifting. That's AWS's kind of tagline.
Right.
The problem is, when I go into their cloud, now I still have to stitch their own tools together to get them to work. And so you're spending all this time stitching tools together. Security models are different between tools. And wait a second, well, how is that any different than what I was doing in my data center? How is that any different than I would do if I bought a bunch of SaaS products? It's not.
Right.
You just get one bill, right?
Right. Okay, Chad, 2 more questions for you. This was really, really helpful. I think a lot of people are getting value. In the context of AIP, once you have that ontology, I'm assuming these AI agents, that's where shit goes to a different level in terms of superseding value.
Well, imagine this. So imagine you have a digital twin of your business process. And so we call this kind of like north of the ontology. Once you have the ontology, it's like it unlocks simulations, it unlocks agents, it unlocks workflows, it unlocks the OSDK. All of that just becomes native once you have an ontology. So all of those other business practices, hey, you want to go do process mining on how your orders are flowing through? Cool. That's like a widget. That's not another tool you gotta go buy. It's not another thing you gotta go stand up on a cloud and integrate. It's literally a widget in a workshop app. And an hour later, you can have a process mining workflow in your application. Like, that is the difference versus I'm gonna go do an evaluation or RFP to go find a process mining tool. I'm gonna plug it in, I'm gonna spend months installing it. Or even if it's already existing in the cloud, I got to go spend time integrating it, figure out security, go through my architecture review. Like, it takes weeks, months to go do all that. And in the tool, we can do it in a few minutes. Like, that differentiator is huge.
Right. This is awesome. This is really cool. I see a lot of comments in the chat. People are getting a lot of good info. Last question for you, Chad. How cool is it working at Palantir?
Fucking coolest thing I've ever done.
Because you've been in big tech for a long time, but Palantir, I think, is a little different for you now.
We just operate differently, and the only thing at the end of the day that we care about is winning.
I like my stock-based compensation going to people who say that. Well, actually, one final question. How does it feel for Gary Tan to follow you and you turning into a little tech celebrity? What's going on here?
I'm excited just that we can start to get the message out to everybody. Now, Gary knows better than anyone what we do, but his connections and everybody else, the lack of communication for so many years about kind of what we do and how we operate, was tough for people to understand what is Palantir. When Palantir showed up at my doorstep, I had never heard of the company, didn't know what they did.
And that's always been the problem, right? That it's a pseudo black box.
Yeah, it is, and it's really the unwalled garden. It's the place that is very open. We everything has APIs, an SDK, the Ontology SDK. It's interoperable in ways that other platforms are not. But we very much get this, black box because it's CIA, it's secretive, it's this and that thing. And in reality, our platform is actually very extensible and open. And so I love that Gary and others start to follow me because they start to help spread and show the message about like what it is we actually do and how we're different. And so finding new people and I've already out of that just alone, I've had people connect and start to talk to me about, different work they're doing in ML engineering and all these different things. Like, how can I try out Palantir? Like, all of that is super exciting to see people build with a platform. So that to me is like the most enriching things. Something that I'm working on and people can go build their company on it and make real transformation based on what that's exciting.
It's really exciting. And the thing I think about you that's incredible and that's just impressed me and Arnie when we met you beyond imagination is that you work in like big tech data, you're an engineer, sometimes you're in sales meetings, and then you're also growing this Twitter brand, like doing marketing and getting the message out. So you kind of do everything, and I think it embodies that winner mentality at Palantir. It's super exciting to kind of see it all play out.
The thing I say to when I used to have teams of people and new employees, there's no job that is below you. Not that Twitter's below me, but like there's no job that you should look at that you shouldn't be a part of doing it if it's going to help you win.
I love it. I love it. All right, chat's Twitter in the description. Chat, thank you for taking the time. We will talk to you later.
All right, later, man. See you.
Later. Bye.